My forms are so quick.
Test 1, 2, test. The Better Choices teaching room, elementary, high school, adults all listen to poems that wade, weave, wonder, and grieve to triumph and defeat. This is my learning room. Jimmy Santiago Baca told a story about a woman who escaped violence by throwing a punch at her attacker, but she missed. Instead, she shattered the lone light bulb hanging from the ceiling, thrusting them both into total darkness. He stopped. She said, "Why are you doing this? Do you understand I'm a mother, a wife, a sister, a daughter, a friend?" The darkness spoke to the perpetrator. The darkness was holy water. The bile he's tasted his entire life from the first times he saw his mother beaten recedes. The violent movies in his head fade to mist. This is my writing room. Lesson plans, proposals, flyers for events, storytelling. My America is in this room. You are my America. Are my America. My America is in these rooms where we write in community, write in unity as storytellers, write in a container of respect with our pens and our brushes. Our brushes. Our brushes. Once, quite recently, I told a poet how old I was. And when I fell on the stage, you knew how old I was. I said to her, I was 74 years old, and I scared myself. But that was my artist room, helping to transform young people who are not criminals. You see, I taught in juvenile hall this morning before I came here. My students in juvenile hall are not thugs. They're Black, Latino, Chicano, Mexicano, Asian, Native American. They are my blood. We have the same or similar histories. They are not thugs. They, like me, so long ago made the wrong choices. The wrong choices. They are not mistakes. They made a mistake. They made a mistake. So as they choose to revise their poems, they are choosing to transform their lives. Good lives. Always the only one that tells them they're valuable to me, valuable to us. As they learn to write better poems, they are learning to make better choices. Siempre. Welcome to Second Sunday Jimmy Poetry. And when I'm not falling down because of a beautiful woman, I try to stand up here and be competent. And today you're going to help us out with this book. We just published this in July. Joe, would you stand up, please? Joe Malash, please stand up, please. This is my co-editor. We published this book. All the proceeds for this book, we are not going to see a penny of it. They're being donated after the publisher recovers his costs. We are going to have the proceeds donated to the Border Angels and to the Friendship Park. And the Friendship Park is the only time when families from both sides of the border can go and see each other at the border. And the Border Patrol is trying to erect a 30-foot wall there. And that would cut off the last access to families from both sides of the borders to see each other because of the red tape and the bureaucracy, et cetera, et cetera. And so what we're going to do today, I want to do a couple of shout outs right now and some housekeeping. In the back, you have Mario Torres. Would you wave to everybody? I work with Mario. He goes into juvenile hall. And last Saturday, Mid-City Community Music, we did a fundraiser, and he was there with two students that I haven't seen since they were freshmen, and now they're seniors. And when I worked with them when they were freshmen, they were all over the place. And because of this man's teaching, he's turned them into citizens who are artists. And you should see the art they're doing right now. If you can see on the sign-up sheet, that little blue, he did that for me. It's a portrait of myself, and it's really helping with my business. Please check him out. And you can talk with him and find out about his art, maybe his influences. Mario, thank you for coming, man. Really appreciate you a lot. So, want to do a shout out. I'm going to ask the artists that are here with your art that you're selling. Would you stand up and just tell everybody your name, please?
My name is Brandon Flowers. This is one of my pieces right here, Anesthesia. It's a translation of sound to color. The other one over there, I haven't named yet. I think we're gonna do something on Facebook maybe where I allow people to actually come up with a name for it themselves. Do something different. I like to try to incorporate the community as much as possible to the artwork, bring them in. Feel like they're a part of it too. And that one is like a very personal, impersonal piece where I think a lot of people can relate, where it's a reflection of a gangster or whatever, the outside of the bar and basically showing that it's the same person. I don't know its name yet. I don't know the cost of it yet. I can't say that, but that's my work.
So I want you to know that this is being recorded. This is Alfred Williams. Could we give Alfred some love, please? Yeah. So he's recording this, and then when it's all over, we'll save the recording, and you will be on the internet. Okay. And how about our next artist, Doctor? Would you like to introduce yourself?
So I don't have any art on display here. I did give you the names of some of the other artists. These are by Kim Phillips Key, and then Reed Brooks, and does Raquel have something out here?
Raquel knows.
So Raquel Roan also has work, but it's in the back. It'll be on the wall after this is over.
Yeah, we had to displace her because of the Zoom.
Yeah, and my work will be on display at the Oya Gallery later.
And would you say your whole name, please?
I am Dr. Lamont.
All right, God bless you. I'm so glad you came. Is there another artist sitting over here with your art up here? Let's give the artist some love, please. Thank you for coming. And I am here because of this man. This is Jimmy Collins. That's one of his paintings right over there. This is another painting I bought when I went to his studio in Spanish Village, and we were talking, and he was waiting on customers and painting, and I noticed this nice portrait, and so he sold it to me for a really nice discount. But Jimmy was a Black Panther in Indianapolis back in the day, and when he passed away from sickle cell, he was a member of the Baha'i faith, which says that we're a family of mankind, and that we should get along together. And he wanted this. I got this at the Beat Museum in San Francisco in January. This is what Jimmy Collins was all about. And he trained me to have all people that come here, whatever color of skin you have, whatever religion, whatever country, whatever your culture is, you are welcome here. And that's my America. And Jimmy's spirit is here with us today. If you need to go to the restroom, it's right behind me right here. Please avail yourself to the deli. It's amazing food that's going on. And so all artists and poets, give yourself some love right now. Thank you for coming. And we're going to go through half of the poets that are here in person. And then we're going to start with the people that are on Zoom. And so I'm going to call on one of my sheroes, who I really love the way she writes. And she is now leaving, and I'll have to call on her another time.
You weren't really going to call me.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Doctor, would you start us off, please? we would like to honor you because you're a poet and a painter, and that's exactly what Jihmye was. Would you start us off and read, please? Can we give her some love, please?
Oh, wow. All right, and so I'm just gonna, you don't really go in the rules, so let's just do like questions.
Just a minute.
And yeah, this is something I wrote a long time ago that I really should know by heart. It's like I wrote it when I wasn't 30 yet. And I'm really past that now. All right, it's called Sister Fear. So, you know, when people ask me to say my full name, I say my government name, but like my name, my spiritual name is Periali, which means extraordinary messenger or servant for another people. And so I was like, this was partially already who I already was when I was an undergraduate student, and partially who I aspired to be. And every time I read, I realize that I did a good job. I guess I knew myself better than I thought I did. It's called Sister Fear. African warrior, mother, healer, queen, spiritually and culturally centered. I love my people and they love me too. This is whose world you have entered. Affectionate, dynamic, and kind with a balanced, directed, creative mind. Brilliant, loving, gentle, and wise. Come look into my big brown eyes, my cute freckled nose, and pedicured toes. Every day my capacity for loving grows. Yeah.
Can we give her some more love, please? So now, without further ado, Bobby Jean Bishop.
Oh, to read? Oh, okay.
Give her some love, please. And we have a future poet in the back. Could you wave to us, little girl? She's in a submarine now. She's gone under. Dad, thanks for bringing. We like children to be here. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I didn't know the rules. I was just they go from there. Another one after you.
I have two poems. One's a shorter one, it's a medium. Spring War, Ukraine. In a newspaper photo, her youthful gaze set, rifle aimed at an iron gray sky. A female citizen soldier trains to protect the city of Kyiv. Volume muted, my TV screen flickers with explosive shelling. I can hear an owl hooting from its perch on a nearby pond. Tonight, in our local heavens, through a collar of faint stars, a cloud consumes the moon. The neighborhood sleeps, while a swallow blooms with one red flower in the darkness of my yard. It lasts but a few brief hours, proud in its spines, its petals strong but thin. This is a poem I wrote about trips we used to make to my grandparents' farm. The folks. It never failed. My mother's cryptic bond with kin swept me into a baffling whirlwind of personalities. Our family custom, driving nonstop across country, visits made between dad's work transfers, mother's parents, referred to as the folks, helped us settle in before our clan gathered at the heart of the farmhouse near Grandma's kitchen. Grandpa reigned from his personal armchair, not far from his tiny bedroom, possibly a converted pantry. Small in stature, my grandparents seemed kin to gnomes, figures for fairy tales of my own making. But for mother, it was coming home to a kettle of nostalgic ties and ambiguities. Here too were keys to my future, existential dilemmas. But then my main concern was my struggle to fill the role of being only an occasional granddaughter. Thankfully, instinct guided me to opportune escapes from the company of these consuming people, their salty discussions heated by headstrong opinions. Outdoors, I could wander alone, immersed in the wizardry of dazzling nature. Orchards beckon with leafy canopies and squishy furrows, unfamiliar fruit ripe for picking. I followed my roaming heart, a diminutive bloodhound on the scent of adventure, peeking into cobweb sheds, the henhouse with its booty of eggs, the barn, a looming ramshackle building I nosed about with caution, weaving through a tangle of pitchforks, tools, and path, vacant stalls, a lost stock stacked with hay. I always emerged with a splinter in my hand, snagged from a railing or gate. Barnyard odors swelled on the breeze, mixing with the sounds of birdsong and buzzing insects. Faint lowing of cows. Running along the road, deep canals of irrigation water shouldered against metal gates. These moats murky with warning. I risked crossing on bridges of thick planks. The child could misstep, tumble, be swept away like other small beasts in dark flowing currents. How I relished my youthful flirtations with nature as I skirted curious and half-tamed farm dogs or froze at a sudden scurry in the scrub, stalling my return to that family drama. Shy and dreamy, I seemed possessed by some renegade gene, amid kinfolk suckled on pragmatism and grit, a youthful outlier, drifting to the music of my own poetic hum, like a pollen-coated bee. Thank you.
That's Bobby Jean Bishop. Can we give her some more love, please? I met this lady, this master poet, at a John Fox workshop, and she sat down in this one seat, and I sat next to her, and we talked, and we had a nice conversation. But when it was her time to read, I went, oh man, am I a pretender or what? Because you're such a good writer. Can we give her some more love? So nice to be here. Wanted to.
Thank you, Jim, by the way, for this. This is a wonderful thing. Thank you.
Well, you are my America, that's for sure. We have the publisher of the book I held up. He is here. His name is Bill Harding, and it says there's a tree on there, and it says Garden Oak Press. Can we give Bill Harding some love, please? He was at the San Diego Writers Festival all day yesterday, and I know you're tired, but thank you for coming today, because we love you very, very much. That's Bill Harding. And I'm wanting all the folks that are featuring when that time has come. So I hope you can hang out with us, and they're just gonna really do a good job for you. Alistair, are you ready? I am. This is Alistair McLeod. Can we give him some love, please?
Oh, Jesus, what is going on today?
It's the stage is full.
Go ahead and stay. Okay, how's that? It's not too bad. Well, thank you all for being here and allowing me to be here. This is a dear place to me because writing poetry makes you think from the heart, and I don't do enough of that. Poems I have three. Two of them are pretty short, so maybe I can see them all. They're old poems. I haven't written much new. I decided today that I would promise you all, myself, that the next time I'm going to have new poems because I'm in a very different place from the place I was in when I wrote these. And it's time to record the later steps in my journey. So here we go. In the Eastern Sierras, up from Tom's place, out of Mosquito Flats, trail to Ruby Lake is not a long one, not a hard climb, many know it. I was up there once late in the season, and if anyone else was there, I didn't notice. All I saw were the clouds of insects swirling above the lake's end. All I saw were the trees stunted by the altitude. All I saw was the play of gray rock, dark water, bush, and driftwood. That was all I wanted to see. That was enough. That was everything, I thought. Earth's life going on, whether I or anyone else was there to see it or not. The swarming and the growing and the trickling and the rushing going on now, had been going on before I got there, would go on after I left, would go on without anyone ever knowing, go on carelessly, would go on ceaselessly, would go on just being. And I thought I wanted to be like that, to know nothing, only to be. Now I think I want to go up there one day and be there and not come back. I'd rather be part of that than anything I can find down here. I'd rather be a gnat in the haze above the water. I'd rather be a tiny fish flicking across gray stones. I'd rather be a tree prying a rock apart with its roots. I'm not any of those things, of course. And I have no more choice than they do. Damned with consciousness, racked with freedom. Still, I'd rather be there. I'd rather just be. Is that what you achieve by that? This is also a poem about nature, Laguna Mountain, who has not wandered, moonless, reverent, amongst dark trees and crags, who has not watched with calm and moody eyes the orchestral clang of the night, who has at the spermy stream that shot across the thickened sky not stared astonished, who has, confounded by this untroubled and unreasoned thing, not reared back in godless wonder shock, who has not done those things has never seen the sun. Finally, very different mood. Ambulances make me cry, and fire trucks, sometimes police cars, when one is driven as fast as the man at the wheel can possibly drive it. Red lights in a wild syncopated dance, sirens screaming a mad song in perfect time, wailing with this one desperate imperative: someone needs help now. You can help us help them just by making a way. I could weep. Not alone, not alone. When all the broken-hearted people living in the world. We are all broken-hearted. Know this, the sirens sing. We care, we care. We are in heart together.
I forgot to announce that poets have 2 points or 5 minutes, and we have a nice history here, kind of a legacy here. That the poets that come up, they are aware that other people are waiting to read. So 2 points or 5 minutes, and musicians is two songs or 10 minutes. And so we'd like to have Dr. Lorena come back up right now, and can we give her some more love because she didn't know she could read another poem.
Alright, so, I mean, summer's over now, right? Sadly, this is called Invincible Summer. Sometimes you overwhelm me with the intensity of your work. And despite this, I am drawn to you, knowing you have the power to burn does nothing to deter me. Your warmth is so inviting, even from a distance. Even now, when your season is past, my heart remains with you, who has brought me comfort and joy and laughter. I have had so much fun in the sun that all other seasons pale in comparison. Because you, my invincible summer, never fail to delight me. When I'm in your presence, only in your absence does the warmth wane. So stay and be with me always. And I will dance through my days basking in the warmth of your love.
Poet and visual artist, let's give her some more love, please. We're at the time where Jimmy trained me, warm up the crowd with half the poets that are in the room, and then go with your feature. So Mary Williams, would you wave to us, please? This is one of the poets. Mary, would you wave to us? There she is. Jane Milligan, would you wave to us, please? There's another poet, Cheryl Lateef. Would you wave to us, please? Sharon Elise, would you wave to us, please? There she is. All right. Julio Cesar Aguilar, would you wave to us, please? And Lori Walkington, would you wave to us, please? All right. Chris Lanoy, would you wave to us, please? He's in the room, back in the back. Deborah Ramos, would you wave to us, please? All right. So I think you're really going to enjoy this. I'm going to call up. What about Joe? We're going to call up Joe Malash right now, the co-editor of the Activist San Diego Poetry Anthology. Please give him some love. That book would not have happened without him.
You haven't read this book, but I don't get, my poetry is probably the weakest stuff in it. The ones up there on the two, those are some of the best poets, they're just marvelous. And when Donald Trump won the election, Jim and I were in a restaurant in somewhat normal height. And we said we had to do something, so we started putting out, get out the vote events, and all the people on Zoom, Chris, myself, and all other folks who are in this book, they went to these events to encourage people to vote. And not all of us made it to every one. In fact, Jim was the only one who made it. And it's really, I just want to say, I think it's really important. This week, being retired, I got a lot of free time, but I was watching CNN too, and the Black Caucus was talking, and they were talking about voting and how hard it is to vote. And one of the members stood up and he listed all the ethnic groups in America and how they had fought just for the right to vote. It took the Poles 50 years to vote, the Polish Americans. It took the Italian Americans 70 years to vote. The Mexican Americans, it took them 125 years to get to vote without harassment. The African Americans, they've been working over 200 years to get the right to vote. And during that time, people have died and beat up. Even in our last election, there was this, I've mentioned this before, but there was this African American woman in a walker who was waiting 3 hours to vote in Atlanta, and she was being harassed the whole time. And but someone gave her a bottle of water. Now it's illegal to give people in line waiting to vote water in Georgia. So if you don't vote, this is a personal thing for me. If I don't vote, I just think I disrespect people who vote, who have worked so hard to get to vote. And that's, so I want to encourage people to vote. So, a couple years ago, I went to Ireland. My mom's family's from Ireland. I went to a castle in Ireland. And this is about Lord Desmond's castle. The Irish built their castle with a cement made from a mixture of straws, bits of animal skin, gravel, and blood from farm animals and humans. The castle was in constant need of repair because the rats licked the blood-based cement and exposed hay and grass for the birds to eat. Lucky for the Lord, death from starvation occurred daily for among his peasants. Plus, he hung those he caught stealing food, and they were bled by the guard. Their blood mixed that with that of the oxen, the cows, the pigs, an occasional dog to fill the Lord's need for cement. It was a great castle, but anyway, this is called tea time. After touring Desmond Castle, I look forward to the countryside customs, tea at 3, cocktails at 5, dinner at 7. At 3 o'clock, I sit on the back patio, musing over the day's events. In front of me is a kettle of tea, along with 6 cups, not the dainty ones familiar to tea shops. These are mugs with handles large enough to fit the fingers of the gravestone engraver, Buck O'Reilly, who owns this B&B. He and his wife, an artist, invited us. When she sits across from me, the sun brightens her auburn hair. She pours tea above her hair, her heart a drop of paint, a splash of red. I asked Buck about tea time. He brushes stone flakes from his crimson beard. It came from the English. The Lord needed a brief respite from his duties of running his estate. I picture Lord Desmond with bags under his eyes. At 3, he slumps into his chair, exhausted from being the judge and jury, from the hangings and bloodletting needed to keep his castle from falling. Thank you.
That's Joe Malash. Can we give him some more love, please? 2016, we signed up for Seed the Vote, and we got on a phone deal, and we called voters in Georgia to remind them to vote. And then we called each other during the time that was going on, and we talked. Well, I talked to there's 5 Trumpers that hung up on us, and one was insulting, and a lot of people said, yeah, they're going to register. They have registered to vote, and boom, boom, boom. And we would call each other and talk about that. And so if you got the flyer about coming here, it says that we're in solidarity. We're in solidarity with the World Beat Center. We're in solidarity with Activist San Diego, with KNSJ 89.1 FM. We're in solidarity with the people who are not going against the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. That's why you're my America, because that's what we want to promote that. And I called him one time, and I told him about this old grandpa that I had reached, this old retired black man. And I asked him if he was registered to vote, and he said, yes, sir. And then he said, my son is registered to vote. And let me tell you what happened to my father, his grandfather. Let me tell you what happened to our family in Georgia. And that phone call lasted about 15 minutes. I just listened to this old man talk about why it was so important for us to vote. And one of the things that we're overcoming when we use our voice to vote. And so one of the things that's going to happen, it's already happening. We're both starting a podcast. And I've got 2 shows on the internet right now. And it's called Make Good Trouble. That's the name of my podcast. And Joe's got a similar one. And we're doing voter education on the podcast. And we're doing interviews with artists who are activists. We're doing political things on that. And so we hope that you might tune in. It should fit your budget. It's free unless you want to make a donation. So thank you for listening to us. Sharon Elise is a president of the Professors Union at Cal State San Marcos. I call her Mary Greenlight because we've been doing activism for a really long time. And she never says no unless she's got some family thing going on. She's an amazing poet. She was the slam champion in San Diego back in the 90s. This is Sharon Elise. You're muted, dear. You're muted.
Okay. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, everybody. I'm sorry, clearing my throat. I want to present two poems. This one is from the book. Thank you, Jim. And thank you, Bill. And thank you, Joe, for all your efforts in bringing this to fruition. Wilbur was my grandmother's second husband, and being that both my grandfathers died a bit early, he was our grandfather. So this is what Wilbur said. We laughed with him about white Pasadena who forgot to hang out the no nigger sign at the pool. They didn't know there was colored there. When he jumped in, they all got out, sweltering in the summer sun. Well, Wilbur, a swimmer, did lap after lap, each one a salvo for the race. When he drove from one end of LA to the other to do electrical work for the feds, that white man stood dumbfounded by his blackness, asking, will they be sending someone else? Nope, just me. Another salvo for the race. When he worked as a custodian, he found time to read tomes of tax code in the library. Confronted by a supervisor who said, is your work done? And you can't possibly understand that. He said, it is, and I do. And now I also do people's taxes. Another salvo for the race. He lived through a century of Jim Crow California, played in the Watts Symphony, joined the Colored Men's YMCA, as I reminded our daughter when she sang, the Y is an open door since 1894. Shut out, but never shut down. Electrician, musician, tax consultant, realtor. Rising like Maya Angelou, salvo for the race.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to honor Wilbur. You never realize what a profound influence your elders have on you, oftentimes and sadly, until they are gone. And he was an absolute treasure. Now, this one is called The Year Blows Like Katrina. The virus is no equalizer. Like water flowing, it follows the curves and valleys of social design, gathering, pooling, saturating Black and brown-bodied, bent and withered-bodied, already infirm-bodied, smug, knowing, self-satisfying. The year blows like Katrina, plagued by twin pandemics. This COVID loss just added to the steady drip, drip, drip of time running out. Refrigerator trucks of bodies, a token to Atlantic traffickers, and the deadly cost of racism. White people resented the lockdown, but we have always lived on lockdown, captives, shackled and chained, down-pressed by Jim Crow, corralled into projects, no way to sanitize the racism, no mask for Blackness. A crime to be free. A crime to run from captivity, a crime to vote, a crime to be out after sunset, a crime to be in some places at any time to be Black. Ask the mothers of children shot dead in the park, of son shot dead in the car, of daughter shot dead in the home, of family in lockup. Make it a crime to teach race in the school. Muzzle us like captives strapped into iron masks. Don't let their children become aware. My dad did not die of COVID. All my dead this year are Black men, my uncles, my cousins, my nephew, my friend. Their doctors will name diseases hard to pronounce, harder to spell, but I will tell how they died of heartbreak. These men who punctuate every sentence, tall tale, or sad saga with a chuckle. Down pressing disappointment, the daily struggle, the daily rejections reflected in the splintered heart. They are not bones in the ground, not ashes and dust. They are our connection to the long line of us. Sankofa forever. Past is now, and I am because we are. Ubuntu. Thank you.
Sharon Elise, can we give her some more love, please? Happy to hear you. So this book is bilingual and binational, and our next poet was kind enough to have his poems translated into Spanish. Pilar Rodriguez Aranda from Tijuana. She also did the same thing, and also Shadab Aziz Hashmi translated her poems into Urdu. She's from Pakistan, and we're very proud of that, and that takes a lot of extra work. So please welcome professor at Baylor University, all the way from Texas. This is Julio Cesar Aguilar.
Thank you, Jim. I'm going to read one poem in Spanish and English. I am listening to myself.
Turn off your speakers. Turn off this video. The speakers.
Julio, we can't hear you.
He's hearing himself.
Now we can hear you, I think.
We can hear you. It's just feedback.
Okay, thank you.
There you go.
En el umbral. ¿Cuál es la puerta aguardando la sombra del que soy? Del que he sido siempre yéndose a los tantos puntos cardinales, como el que brizna, polen ciego, anhela vislumbrar algún indicio de cualquiera, señal donde se funde el venidero reino. Digo puerta, y acaso sea una ventana, un pedazo de vidrio, un vacío por el que no se filtre, cárcel que abolirá sus hierros cuando decida el pueblo. Amigo mío que a veces soy y que dentro de mí se esconde. Amigo que me dará su voz, manantial de canto, luz y llave desmintiendo los ilusorios muros de la ficción, donde ya no vivo. Porque muerto estoy y no sé desde cuándo. On the threshold. Which is the door that awaits the shadow of who I've always been scattered to the four winds. Like blind pollen or a splinter longing for the brightest of a single flower. some sign upon which to
Some
found my
sign
kingdom come.
upon which to found my kingdom come.
I say door, but perhaps
I
it's a
say
broken
door,
window,
but perhaps it's a broken window,
a shard of glass, a ball through
heard
which
of
light
glass,
filtered,
a bone through which light filtered,
a prison that will abolish its
a
chain.
prison that will abolish its chain.
When the fire of man so decides,
When the
or a
fire of
plague of
man shall
man,
decides, or a plague of man,
which I am sometimes, and who
which
hides
I am
within me,
sometimes, and who hides within me,
a friend who will lend me his
a
voice,
friend who will lend me his voice,
wellspring of song, light,
wellspring
heat,
of song, light, heat,
giving the light to the illusory
giving the
world
light to
of
the
this prison,
illusory world of this prison,
where I no longer live, since I
where
am
I no
dead,
longer live, since I am dead,
and now not since
and
when.
now not since when.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julio. Thank you for coming today all the way from Texas. I met this next poet who's in our book when she was getting her master's in sociology, and Sharon Elise was her chair. And then she got that master's degree, and then she went up to Cal State Riverside and got a PhD. So now it's Dr. Lori Walkington. Can we give her some love, please?
Thank you all. Thank you, Jim and Bill and Joe. And I'm going to try turning my speaker down on my end. And can you all still hear me when I'm talking now? Perfect. Okay. So I'm going to read directly from the anthology, and I'm sitting here coming to the realization that I need to write more because these are old and I need to move forward. So this one is especially for Joe, and I appreciate Sharon's pieces as always. And I actually am amongst my elders. These are my poetic elders, so I get to thank you all in real time.
Okay.
Not old, just more seasoned than I in the game.
Whatever you did, can you change it back?
Lori Alfred's asking you, whatever you did, change it back, please.
Because now it's coming through.
We found his boots in our coat closet 2 days later. His name was Quincy.
Bring the microphone.
We called him Q. Q was a 19-year-old community college student who worked part-time doing electrical repairs for the gas company. He introduced me to Hendrix, All Along the Watchtower, and Hey Joe.
Yeah.
We didn't understand 90s suburbs kids that we were, and thought that Q was a little weird. But something about the way he insisted this other weird man had something to say made us listen.
Lori?
Until the chords
Lori,
untangled.
can you hear us? I don't think you can hear us.
Q played guitar too, and like
Lori.
his eye was dead too soon.
Lori, can you hear us?
But like those strung up before,
I don't think she can hear us.
you know the ones in black and white photos where children cheer the dead, charred black bodies. Q dared to receive the affections of the forbidden white fruit. Uh-oh.
Okay, just a sec.
They found him in the desert, dead.
Yeah, we're gonna try and get her to start over, everybody.
You can't hear me?
Go ahead, please.
Okay. We found his boots in our coat closet 2 days later. His name was Quincy. We called him Q. Q was a 19-year-old community college student who worked part-time doing electrical repairs for the gas company. Q introduced me to Hendrix, All Along the Watchtower, and Hey Joe. We didn't understand 90s suburbs kids that we were, and thought Q was a little weird. But something about the way he insisted this other weird man had something to say made us listen, until the weird psychedelic chords untangled into magical consciousness. Q played guitar too, and like his idol was dead too soon. But like those strung up before, you know the ones, in black and white photos where children cheer the dead, charred black bodies, Q dared to receive the affections of the forbidden white fruit. They found him in the desert, dead, bound, shot, execution style in the back of his head. And now every time I hear Hendrix, I remember Q's empty boots at the bottom of the coat closet. The pornography of Black pain. The heightened consumption of Black people being murdered, shot, choked, hooded, dead, sometimes in front of their children, the sharing of these images on one's social media, news networks, and text. May make monetary contributions, also shares with social media networks, no concrete action toward ending the systemic violence against BIPOC people. Return is a sense of pleasure from watching and sharing that contribution without any real connection to it. Consuming such images as objects, fetishized versions of sympathy, results in a feeling of self-pleasure that one has done their part, is not racist, and may return to their daily concerns, having spent themselves indulging in the pleasure of sharing our pain without stepping in and using privilege, power, or access to end the institutional and systemic forces that create, inflict, and maintain Black pain as the object. No justice is engaged. During the Black Power movement, folk would travel internationally to ride bus tours to the dangerous American Black ghettos to observe the brutalities of Black life in America. Sympathy was expressed. Certainly observations were shared. Pleasure was had and backs were patted at observing for themselves. Fighting for racial justice means doing more than observing, more than liking or sharing another image of the next Black person who's been killed, beaten, and murdered, more than creating your reading lists. It means doing the stuff that doesn't make for a likable pic or a pat on the back from your colleagues, your family, your friends. Doing it when you're uncomfortably far from the center, when it's not about how you feel, gaining recognition or financial gain from it. It means considering the impact that these images use to convey the brutalities of systemic racism while sharing, being cognizant of that impact and being willing to make decisions based on your ability to engage critical analysis leading to action against systemic racism. Do not use photos of brutalized Black bodies simply for shock or to meet a new diversity requirement, but do use narratives of the brutalized and images of the brutes. Switch up the narrative. If you're not informed, get yourself informed, but do your own research. Get in the work and stay in the work until justice is had, because otherwise, y'all are just on tour. Thank you.
So worthwhile waiting for. Thank you for coming, Lori. If you will understand that Jimmy said, we are about, at Second Sunday Jimmy Poetry, we are about supporting the artist community. So if you visual artists, we'll leave some cards on the table. So if someone wants to kind of check out your art, please do that. Some of our poets have published books. Janice, did you bring your books? So please put them over on the table. Chris, did you bring your books? Okay, please put them on the table. And also, Joe and I have bought copies of a book we just got published. And so when everything is over, if you would like to take one of these books home, these poems that you're hearing right now are all in the books. And so please support our artists. Mario, did you bring some cards or anything? So he also has some cards, and we really want to be about supporting you and your art, because Joe and I, when we had those conversations back in 2016, and then when we decided to do this book, we want to counter hate and ignorance. It seems like the small minority that's the loudest, we need to counter hate and ignorance. So thank you for supporting that. And now let's move on to, I want to ask, she's one of the poets in here. She's also talking about the influences that she has in here. Who are the influences in writing? Please welcome Jane Milligan.
Thank you. Thanks again, Jim and Joe, for all the work you've been doing, putting the anthology together, and also for getting people out to vote. I'm going to start out with the shortest poem that I have in the book, and it's the oldest poem that I have in the book. And unfortunately, there's a typo in it, which is entirely my own fault. Terrible job of self-editing. So I'll read it in the correct version. It's called Conventional Wisdom. Things we refuse to talk about are wounds sealed beneath scabs. Everyone knows you shouldn't pick scabs. Everyone knows that wounds heal if left alone. The flesh will stiffen into scars. Pain will melt into memory, seem softer than it was. Likewise, the hope persists that America's wound, which divides the races, will someday heal with benign neglect. So we limp along through the generations, not scraping the scab, ignoring the obvious, that some wounds won't heal unless they are lanced. And I'm depressed because I wrote that poem a long time ago and it still holds true. So I want to end on a more hopeful note, and this poem is titled Hope. Two gangly white girls spill down the street like frolicking puppies. Joyful carelessness of youth on full display. Sisters, probably, both with long flaxen hair in sloppy ponytails. Their summer outfits snub the gray winter day. With billowy tie-dye tops and shorts, breezy pastel sandals, and blue surgical masks. With elbows akimbo, one kicks her lanky leg high in the air at a phantom soccer ball or aimless butterfly. Or maybe a random burst of energy creates her pseudo dance move. Seeing such abandon bordering on comical brings me close to tears. A reminder that there's life to be lived despite COVID. An antidote for malignant TV images cramped in my head. A smug maskless figure in Senate chambers, wasted manhood conducting murderous maneuvers in supremacist training camps. Flagpole spears thrust at besieged Capitol Police. Hoping against hope, it won't always be like this. Hope rekindled by the sight of these carefree sisters out savoring the day and sweetly oblivious that in this small frozen moment, their light decimates darkness and might even save a life. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Jane, for coming. Our next poet is a beat poet, and a lot of you have heard me introduce him over and over again, but I'm going to do it again. He was the San Diego Blues poet, and he did beat poet, and then he was a California beat poet, and then he was the United States beat poet. This is Chris Benoit.
Now I'm a lifetime beat poet. Let's see. Thank you, Jim, for book. So I got 3 in here. One I wrote San Diego downtown. The other one is an addendum to another poem I wrote, and third one was My Bench. So you want to start with that poem 2000. This is the poem it came from, and I'll go right into the other poem. This is the year 2022. You are hereby instructed that I am clone number 204 of master body 335, fully functional. Standard intellect level was achieved through symbolic representation and sentience through a miscalculation of amino acids. I am being held in passive restraint for donor organs. I overheard the biotechs talking in low whispers as they excavated clone number 203 for master body implantation, full retrofit, all usable material removed, all usable material removed. I lay in darkness of my faith for 18 years, prepared for a world that I had seen only to the pre-programmed memories of master body 335. I am being kept alive for donor organs. I stand before you now to plead for my life. I am clone number 204, and I am alive. I am he who you made, creation of sapien, a thing to be harvested, a thing to be sold, a slave, product of genetic engineering, a slave for your procreation and your life extension. My home is a 5x7 biosystem substance chamber, the exact one in which I was conceived. They say my waking was a mistake, their mistake. They say they are sorry. They say that I am to be terminated as unviable material. They say I have been corrupted. The process of my existences are copyrighted. I am owned by Cybergen. Their lawyers argue that I am property like an iPhone, property like a chair, like a spoon. Help me from this. I am alive. Now down to the streets of San Diego. It's called My Bench. Hey, you! Get off my bench. That's my bench. It's got my name right there. See? Young fellas nowadays can't find their own place to sleep at night. Right there. It says Chris Benoit right there. A man has to sleep where his name is, don't he says as he unrolls the blanket on the beach. Man remembers bed with silken sheets and warm women lying cradled beside him, he says, as he lays upon the bench. Went to sleep, woke with wine, now I lay my head here all the time, he says, as he makes a pillow of the excess blanket. A bed for a bench, dreams to like me to sleep, he says, as he closes his eyes. Walking down by the courthouse, and word came in my head, downtown, couldn't let it go. Downtown, I'm going downtown on a trolley, red and fast, beep, beep, to see those horse-drawn carriages clip-clop in the heart of the city that never stops running over people, moving them aside, show your urban pride in new hotels where the old ones once stood. Doesn't matter that 306 people have to sleep on the streets. Convention money's coming. We'll build more houses someplace away from downtown. Downtown, budget's overdrawn. Guess we just have to wait for a roof over their heads. Clean, lily white neighborhoods don't want no minorities living in their backyard. Work too hard to let them stay in downtown. Downtown, where high-class ladies drive their BMWs past families living in cars. Where bars charge $3 for a beer. No bums here, just tourists looking for a good time. Can you spare a dime? Dime won't buy nothing nowadays. Quarter, dollar would be better. I could buy a piece of plastic so they won't get wet sleeping under the freeway bridge while I'm living here in downtown. Downtown, hey mister, I got a sister. She looks real fine. You could buy a bottle of wine. Oh, I see. Go the other way. Sorry, my brother's busy today here in downtown. From men who work at high finance, jugglers just doing their dance up the corporate ladder of $1 million deals. Well, I'm down here wondering just how it feels to wear three-piece suits, Gucci boots, silk ties, tell lies in air-conditioned offices uptown while I'm walking around downtown. Downtown, trash is blowing. It ain't snowing, but there's water sloshing in my shoes. The awning's nice, but I think more than twice about leaving this safe place. Art galleries don't feed me just to look see at pretty pictures on the wall. That's all well and nice. Just hope you don't get sliced up while you're waiting on the street corner. I'm a blood donor, doesn't pay much, just a crutch for propping up my sag of moral values. I'm singing the blues about living downtown. Downtown, rescue mission is dishing up the food if you're in the mood and have the right attitude. They're just trying to keep your head from they're just trying to keep your soul from frying, your head from lying on the cold concrete. So take a seat, must see here in downtown.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for coming. And so now fasten your seatbelts because we're down to about 2 poets that are in the annual. And I'd like you to hear the gift of a master poet. This is Mary Williams.
Hi. All right. Just thank you to Jim and to Joe and to Bill. And thank you to all the artists and poets too, because the word resilience gets tossed about a lot these days, but I'm really appreciative of anybody who continues to be creative in these times of chaos. And, you know, art is a form of nourishment and resistance and grace. So anyway, this is the purr. And those of you who have cats might appreciate this. The purr of the cat is the universal hum, the thrum of all stars, mysterious reverberations from a wild and fathomless peace. Do not take this murmured grace for granted. Daily cruelty and indifference abound. Old wounds burned into your bones have smothered your delight. The purr beckons you to unclench, to soak deep in this warm, quivering creatureliness. Linger there. Let it softly cradle the tender, trembling mammal of your heart. If manna has a rhythm, it is the purr. Thank you. This second poem is a prayer, O Holy One. O Holy One, weeping with us and through us, widen our hearts to receive your peace in the thick of this chaos and pain, so that we turn to, not on, one another, becoming vessels of mercy and wild tenderness as we ride these storms of our world in transition. Amen. And thank you.
Beautiful.
That was Dr. Succinct. Can we give her some love, please? Thank you. Our next poet, I asked her to come with me to the border to protest against the 30-foot wall that La Migra, the Border Patrol, was going to erect. And we went and nobody was there because someone had a seizure. I had to take her to the hospital. So I said, we're here, let's go over to the seawall and let's do a poem. And I had asked her to change this one poem to put some Spanish in it so the people on the other side of the border would know we were honoring them, Spanish speakers, of course. And when she said the poem with the Spanish, and all these tears came up. And so be careful when she reads to you, because there'll be a transformation that you can't even help. This is Deborah Ramos. Just don't make me fall again.
All right. Okay. You know what? Okay. Where Californians meet. Feeding our loved ones is a sacred act, even when hands and food pass through chain link under the scrutinous stare of La Migra. Communal gathering at a border garden remains shut down while Walmart sells Halloween costumes and candy corn. Eating garbage falls freely across two sides of the Pacific Ocean while families can't share a simple meal in a space between two cultures, two countries. Sidewalk cafes are open, napkins crisp, glasses full. But this Chisholm, this third nation, has no place at the table. Let's transcend the straddling fence to offer bread, water, esperanza. Together we'll say grace. We'll let the hands prepare the sacred ground on the sandy soil of Friendship Park. I'm going to read, I wrote this when he who cannot be named was our non-presidential president. It's called Educate, Agitate, and Organize. Walls of people, walls of science, walls of Me Too, walls of women line up to accuse their perpetrator, to scream out their America. America's humbled masses march through streets with dogs, babies, and wheelchairs, teaching moments for young girls and their fresh power. Wise crones lead with bloody signs from other wars. Are we still fighting for this? Women scarred from abortions, choices, assaults, being less, feeling more. Walls of poetry and poets writing clever verses. Walls of chain link separate families at dusty borders that smell like bull rings. Just when I thought there could be no more walls, the mad king walls in brown children. Our raised voices and clenched fists pound down the mortar and punch through holes.
Thank you, Grandma. Appreciate you being here. So we're down to our last poet that showed up for the anthology. And she is in Seattle. She comes to us from Seattle. And she was the host for where we all started in the 1990s at Claire de Lune's coffee shop on 30th and University. And she treated us all with sweetness. She's a very sweet woman. And she loved Jimmy as well. He really respected her. And so this is Cheryl Lateef.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you. Thank you for the book and everything that you do. Oh boy, I'm echoing. Oh, see if we can make this happen. I have this first poem I wrote after listening to George Bush speak. And Jane, I just have to say, I find that no matter when you write a political poem, years later, it still is meaningful. So, and that's the case with this. Wrote it in 1999, I believe. From Colorado to Kosovo, I'm seeking the winds of change. Thoughts of the President's Speech, April 23rd, 1999. Words, not weapons, he implores, as bombs fall on Belgrade. The irony is sharp, like a knife to the gut. Innocent souls cut down, become collateral in the name of peacekeeping. Words, not weapons, is the call of this one nation under God, making millions from munitions, making movies of mass murder, making motherless children of us all. Words, not weapons, comes a cry when children cut down other children in school. They've learned well the lessons of war, how to destroy from a distance, how to demand attention through destruction, how to decimate hope with pipe bombs and bullets, homemade horror on the 5 o'clock news. Words, not weapons, a neatly packaged soundbite, well-crafted words from a spin doctor unable to heal these wounds. These wounds bleed to the bone. Words, not weapons, echoes in the aftermath. I hear Martin in the distance, search for heroes in debris, call your name, God, in despair. The air is thick with the stench of death, the future bleak, and all I hear is a haunting echo of these words, wishing they were more than a clever tagline. Thank you. And this piece, Jim mentioned Jimmy. This piece was written for Jimmy. And those of you that knew him knew that he traveled to Africa on a fairly regular basis. And I wrote this for him, Ancestral Soil. You wander distant lands, gather treasure of lore, like sacred stones smoothed by years of telling, these words, colors, sounds, this ancestral soil soothes. Your synapses, like fingers, caress every sense. You taste home in sun-drenched days, smell home in morning dew, feel home in the weave of cloth at open market, hear home in feral cries carried by night, see home across the savannah. Your untamed soul stretches like a cheetah, muscles quiver, ready for the run. Your life was only for this, all the days of your life for this return to what you did not know, but knew all the same, Mother Africa. Her heart beats in distant drums, language of rhythm, unwritten language, unspoken words, carried by wind, safe from interception, carried by wind, calling you home, where the cast of your skin makes you brother or son, never other. Calling you home, where carrion crows know your name. You roam under African skies, wider somehow than those you have known, deeper somehow than what you have grown to expect. Home, you are home now, in the bosom of Mother Africa. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. It was in the mid-90s when Jimmy went to Africa, and he had just come back from that trip. And he said, I just want you to know what I experienced when I went over there. He had gone to the place where the Middle Passage was going to start. And it was a place that had a very wide spiral down to the basement. And so when they brought the human beings that were chained together to put on the ships up through this spiral, he had to go down to the basement. He had to go down there and experience what the ancestors had experienced. And when as he was telling me he was coming up to the top, it was almost like he could feel the pain that the ancestors went through, and he started to weep. And I just didn't miss a beat. I just wrapped him up in a brotherly hug, and I held him as he wept. And that's the man. That's the man. That's why we're here. He had that kind of compassion. He and I disagreed on one thing. He said, it doesn't do any good to vote. I said, yes, it does. And I think if he was alive today, he would have maybe changed his mind and voted with us, because it's so important to vote right now. I want to do 2 shout outs, and then I'm going to introduce our musician for today. Atoy, can you let everybody see who you look like? This is Atoy Harris. I just assisted him in juvenile hall today. He's a disc jockey. He's an amazing man. Could you let us see your face, sir? And we put out 6 or 7 chairs for the young men. They're still locked up. And all the young men, because of the way he's a master teacher, all the young men, they stood up for the whole class because he's really a motivator. I guess he maybe went outside because it's so pretty outside. But that's Atoy, and I guess he's waving to us. And Johnny Renee Nielsen, would you let us see what you look like, please? And she is an expert on Kwanzaa. December 26th through January 1st is the African American Harvest Festival that was established by a professor at Long Beach State University, and she does Kwanzaa poems to the max. She's just amazing. Can you just wave to us, Johnny Renee, and say hi? That's her.
Hi. Hi, everybody.
This gentleman, thank you, Johnny Renee. This gentleman I met teaching in juvenile hall. He's a musician and he teaches music. And we just were taught in another classroom today, but when I approached him, I said, would you come to the open mic? He said, no problem. Please welcome Daniel Pena. Amplified or your voice?
Yeah, no, I don't know. They probably, I think you can hear me, right?
Can't get good help nowadays.
That's good. That's good. Yeah.
Okay.
Hello. Hi. Everyone, how are you today? Very proud to be here tonight, listening to all the poets and activists. We are living difficult times, but it seems like we have been living difficult times forever. It's been the same thing over and over and over. And like some of the poets said, continue showing the sick images of what goes in the world, and it's like we feed on that, we make money on that, and nothing comes through. Yes, I'm ready to vote for justice, for having a healthy world. You know, our people are being fed with junk. Our people are being fed with terrible news all the time, and this doesn't help. What helps is to bring a healthy attitude. You know, we are all a universe ourselves. You know, we are creators. I teach music, but I don't teach just a format or a way to play. I teach so people can create themselves. They can be the creators that they are. But we are all creators. Oops.
Jim, you're all wrapped up.
Okay. Hello. Okay. I should get closer to the mic. I'm sorry. So I'm gonna sing Spanish today. I haven't translated some of this is a collaboration of a song that a friend of mine wrote, you know, a musician. He actually wrote the words to it. But he writes all the time. He writes a whole bunch of, you know, songs all the time. So he threw that song at me. He said, you put music to that. Okay. He's a musician as well. And the song is called Andanzas. It's an urban song. It's a person that goes out in the street, starts walking, starts meditating upon life and what goes on in the moment and forever. It's called Andanzas. Andanzas means the walking supplies. Okay, it goes.
Hecho andar por las calles y avenidas, veo pasar tanta gente distraída, tanto afán, nunca hay tiempo suficiente. La vida se consume ingenuamente, huyendo, temiendo. Fingiendo, descubrí tantas cosas escondidas por ahí, en el lado oscuro de la vida. Lástima, la maldad y la arrogancia. La vida se nos va rápidamente. Despierta, guerreros. Es urgente. Y dice, andanzas, andanzas, quiero leña en el invierno. Quiero paz y pan junto a mi cama. Quiero besos en silencio. Quiero un canto y quiero nada. Quiero un sueño en la palma de mi mano. Quiero escalar y gritar en la montaña. La historia continúa. Me perdí entre sueños y aventuras. La verdad, tuve miedo y muchas dudas. Al final, no fue más que un mal momento. La vida desnudó sus argumentos. Qué linda es la luz. Las mañanas insistí con la vida que quería. Entendí que yo me comprendía. Óyeme, 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 solo goza tu presente. Los sueños se nos dan al perseguirlos, creyendo, luchando, intentando. Andanzas, andanzas,
Yes. Okay. This one is this is my song. I wrote this one by myself, and it's called Vibraciones. It's called Vibrations. Vibraciones. And it's a very positive song. It's a vibrations. Yeah, it's a game of words. You know, I mean, it can be a song to God, a song to existence, a song to the negative space, a song to poetry, a song to a woman, a song to man, a song to whomever, right? It's a, and it goes like this.
Vibraciones en el aire, vibraciones de colores, vibraciones de alegría, vibraciones musicales, adorado movimiento de fuerza imparable, fiera seductora que me arrasa, niña melodiosa, envuelta en la armonía, vas como la diosa, vertiendo de su hormiga, vibraciones en el aire, vibraciones de colores, vibraciones de alegría, vibraciones musicales, luz esplendorosa, alumbras el camino, alma peregrina, encuentra tu recinto, mariposa colorida, vuelas libremente, te hace una escala, estrella luminosa. Las musas que se acercan silenciosas, las musas que se acercan seductoras. Mi felicidad de estar contigo es incomparable, porque este momento presente que vivimos es de los dos, de los dos. Vibraciones en el aire, vibraciones de alegría, vibraciones de colores, vibraciones musicales.
That's Danielle. Can we say thank you, Danielle? That was really nice, really nice. Please remember that Mario also works for Mid-City Community Music, and he's still in the back, and he's still got beautiful things for sale. And so, what we're going to do now.
Daniel's last name.
Peña. Daniel Peña. Gracias, senor.
Gracias. Thank you very much for listening.
All right. So this lady comes to my workshops all the time. She's a world traveler, and she has a book over there that she has brought. If you are wanting to support her in her writing, please welcome Janice Alper.
Getting slower and slower.
Well, thank you. Jim mentioned that I'm a world traveler. I've been on all 7 continents, and I'm preparing a volume called Traversing the World. And what I'm going to read now is a work in progress for this volume, and it's very dark. I should warn you. Well, I'm talking as loud as I can. This is a very dark poem, just for you. Death camps in Poland, killing fields in Cambodia. Two madmen, a generation apart, stalked, transported children, men, women, gypsies, disabled, clergy, rich, not so rich. In Poland, a sign, Arbeit macht frei, work makes you free. Only SS were free, separated families, men on one side, the elderly, women, children on the other. Nubile young women became house servants, a euphemism for whoring. Human beings, robbed of dignity, were pushed naked into showers of Zyklon B, screams, cries, heard only by an invisible God. In Cambodia, peasants, merchants, students, parents, grandparents, disabled, clergy, rich, not so rich, rounded up, transported, imprisoned, starved, herded to killing fields, shot, buried in shallow graves over long dead bodies of Chinese settlers who lie restless from the indignity. I hear the call of the shofar, march with the living, from Auschwitz to Birkenau. Light candles along the way. We wear blue windbreakers, mostly teens, elderly survivors who tell their stories. Birds chirp at Treblinka. Stones mark 17,000 villages, towns, cities, no longer on a map. At Majdanek, 3 stories of ashes, a camp ready for operation. How could the townspeople not smell the smoke of burning bodies? We are alive. We have survived. No victory with a house painter from Austria. I stand at shallow graves in the killing fields of Chung Ek, where bones wash up in monsoon season. Stoop, snag a ring washed up from a hand, a mother, a wife, perhaps the husband. Stand at Buddhist memorial, recite Kaddish, my prayer for the departed. Choke back tears. Children run up to me, touch my gray hair, giggle. I smile back at them. They call me Ye, Grandma. Like Hitler, Pol Pot did not win. Praise life. This is called Petra 1995. And for those of you who don't know, Petra is in Jordan. Camels laden with ivory, spices, silk from China, clumped atop my rose red sandstone. Nimble fingers of Nabatean artisans sculpted a city in ancient desert, buried, lost, forgotten over time. Centuries later, Bedouins sheltered in my caves, rested from glaring sun, cooked by night, slept in warmth. Desert winds swirled around me. Today you come with your cameras, your hiking boots, your curiosity, on foot, on horseback, on tourist buses. Camels idle nearby, spit at you when you come too close. Breathe in dry desert air. Close your eyes. Listen to the wind. Ancient artisans chip away rose red sandstone. A legacy for the world. For you, for you. Thank you.
So we're almost at the end of our time together, and they say you save the best for last, these poetry readings. So these two last ladies always come to my workshops, some longer than the other, but they always bring a light. That's why they're going on last. And so I'd like to introduce someone who seems very young in spirit, but she's very seasoned. And so please welcome Amitra Carol Smith.
Thank you. Yes, I'm watching that step.
That's dangerous.
I want to be honest with you. I'm so affected by Janice's first poem, but I literally got dizzy. There are some people who come alive behind the microphone, and Janice is one of those. I'd like us to give her a mic. Thank you. Once in a while, we look back on something we did and we're like, oh shit, that's really me. That's really me. So I was up at Queen's Stage Coffee House in Encinitas, and there was a lot of noise, and I heard the barista say, so many times in my life, and I thought, oh yeah, we're gonna put that in a poem. And I couldn't hear the rest of what she said. So many times in my life, I have leaped. It looked like a sweet shortcut through a neighbor's yard where a steer was tied up. Steers are generally like sheep, nothing on their mind but the next mouthful of weeds. But suddenly he came for me. In the wild oats, I could not tell how long his rope was, so it was a mystery exactly where he would get pulled up short. I was sprinting. I was burning a path through the weeds, and I could still hear him coming behind me, pounding and snorting. Then I reached the edge of a ravine. We pause here for a note from the author. When tender little bulls are bordezoed or clipped to become steers, they go on bemused, now forever uninspired by even the loveliest cow. But sometimes the procedure gets botched. They get crowd cut, leaving more bull than anyone wants to deal with. At the edge of the ravine, I jumped off into the whatever at the bottom. Fortunately, nothing there was non-negotiable, and I sank knee-deep into branches and leaves. Keeping one ear out with a fresh hell behind me, I charged up the other side and scrambled to the top, not sure which would run out first, my luck or the rope. Behind me, a galloping 1,000 pounds of beef pulled up at the lip of the ravine and planted his front hooves apart, huffing and swinging his head, clearly disappointed that he had missed out on running up my back and savaging me with his legs. So many times in my life, I have leaped. Okay, and some of you that are superannuated like me, I bet I'm the oldest. Oh no, I'm older. I'm 78. Oh, honey, you're a babe. I'm a babe. Okay. I can. Well, remember the phrase, a chicken in every pot? Does that ring a bell? I've been heard him say it. That's how old I am. Wow. FDR said it. Yes. Awesome. Wow. Obama said it. A chicken in every poem. Dear Amazon, I'm returning the unicorns and rainbows. They were a gift. Nothing defective about them. Just the wrong material. Please credit my account. Yeah, I know that a poem could have unicorns and rainbows, In fact, I once tried to include them, but the rainbows conferred and found me uncongenial, and they wafted away without a backward glance. The unicorns crapped all over my rug, tore up the couch with their horns, and peed on my laptop, laughing like maniacs. I had to grab a broom and chase them out to clatter down the street, their hooves splashing sparks on the pavement. They eventually got picked up by poetry control and fostered until someone else adopted them. Now, a poem's got to be as close as sweat, as full of blood as a forearm, and as practical as a suppository. Far from being a hobby horse we ride, poems ride us, sometimes gouging us with their spurs, sometimes pointing the way as our Sancho Panza, sometimes bubbling in the pot. A lovely mess of skin on, bone in, chicken thighs, a tip in of oyster mushrooms, a slosh of Chardonnay, a twin pair of babies, a swoop of redolent chicken stock, a handful of pearl onions, as much heavy cream as you could hold in your cupped hands, a little conference of smashed garlic, a splat of fresh dairy butter, and a tiny particle of fresh thyme tied up with white string. And that's the poem, mister. Yes.
So can we give her some more love, please? And Janice? We are at the end of our journey together today, and I'd like to thank my brothers from Mid-City Community Music for coming today and being here. Mario's in the back, his visual art. And can we give some more love for Danielle, please, for that guitar? Really nice stuff. I think Jimmy would want me to read this poem from the book. Jimmy was someone who was a voice for the voiceless. And so this is called 600 Years of Hate. And we'll end this with our time together today. We have a tradition here at Second Sunday where if you want to talk to one of the poets, we hang out a little bit. If you want to talk to them about their influences, or you want to talk to them about other things, please hang out and be with us. You can bill yourself for some coffee if you can't stay awake. But please, you don't have to leave right away. If you Zoom, can we give some love for the poets that are on the Zoom for coming? Yo te quiero mucho. Thank you very for coming. Really appreciate it. And so anyway, this is 600 Years of Hate. Starts with an epigram from Rumi and his reed flute song. And this is for John Lewis. Listen to the reed and the tale it tells, how it sings of separation. We listen to the knee and the tale it told of white privilege turning lethal bold, stealing an unarmed black life. Yesterday the lies stopped. Handcuffs bound a menace of arrogance and hate. Listen to the knee and the tale it tells, singing the song that crushed the black man's neck. What sort of man hears the black man's gasp, but continues to steal his life? Crush the tongue that cries, Mama! Mama! The black man cries for the heart of his mother. But you see, the knee has no ear for mercy, no feeling for the tears of the black man. the tears of a nation. The knee only knows delivering the hate of the master. 600-year-old hate. What sort of man forgets mercy's cry to defy the knee of the bigot, to shrink the bludgeon of hate? Listen to the bullet in the tale it tells, joining other bullets ending the black woman's life. She's asleep in her own house after working to defeat the COVID-19. Yes, brothers and sisters from the Mercy tribe, she was asleep in her own house when the bullets of fear and hate snatched her life. The bullets were at the wrong house. The wrong house. The bullets were delivered by mistake and hate, another version of strange fruit dispatched by the blue-black gun instead of the hangman's rope, the pale finger pulling the blue-black trigger, used to stealing dignity, used to stealing schooling, used to stealing the pulse of respect. Dum, 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 dum. Listen to the silence and the tale it tells of the men and women in blue-black dress standing with one Klan colleague, not trained to know the left from the right, the taser side from the gun side, and one more black youth is traffic stopped dead for an air freshener on the rear view mirror. When will you break ranks with a Klan colleague, with your Klan colleague? When will you stop covering lies with silence? When will you stop co-signing bogus police reports? Your partner stays silent about your lies. Your captain stays silent about your lies. Your chief stays silent about your lies. He had a gun. No, he didn't. He was on drugs. No, he wasn't. He was a gang member. Most teens aren't. Teens just like to hang out. That's no excuse for a death sentence. Dante Wright was America's future leader. Adam Toledo was America's future leader. A rope was not used on Sandra Bland, but her stolen life was lost. Another theft of a black life at a traffic stop. Breonna Taylor shot 8 times by Klan mentality. The search warrant said no knock when it should have said no shots. No shots. Now Breonna, a leader in fighting COVID-19, will lead no more. Rest in peace, Brother George Floyd. Brother George Floyd. We refuse to hate the hate behind the knee that crushed your life. That would make us like him. Rest in peace, Sister Sandra Bland. We refuse to hate the hate that hanged you. That would make us like them. We, the real spirit of America, the real America of equality, as in all men and women are created equal. We are the tribe that covers our bills, as in the Bill of Rights. We'll stay vigilant and not hate. We'll open our arms to those in blue who break ranks as brothers and sisters of freedom, transforming violence and hate to peace and love. Dr. King's agape, Martin X's Hajj, Gandhi's heart, Rumi's Shams, Sheriff Halverson stand for peace and safety for the water protectors and every Indian child's wonder. But we do not wonder. We're the tribe stopping the public executions of unarmed innocents, habeas corpus, Magna Carta, Hurricane Carter. We're the tribe defeating the lies. We're the tribe making good trouble. We're the tribe that loves children. Go ahead. Join up with us. Listen to the truth and the tale it told. Yesterday, the lies stopped. Handcuffs bound a menace of arrogance, hate, white privilege turning lethal bold, breaking down the blue silent wall and the hate it holds. Listen to the reed and the tale it tells, singing of separation. Dios te bendiga. Thank you for coming.